So welcome back to the garden. Today is July 25th and the weather outside is pretty nice. Got a little bit of a breeze, have decent humidity for the plants out here, and it's just not as hot as it's been the last couple of weeks. So thought it'd be a good opportunity to come out here, take a look at the garden, and show you some of the stuff that's happening out here, including this guy, little chipmunk. He's been the most interested party in the ripening tomatoes lately, so that's been a little bit of a trouble, but there's probably enough to share some of the tomatoes. But when they're the first tomatoes of the season that are ripening, you don't really want to share them with the critters just yet. But hey, I guess they're hungry too. So anyways, today I thought I would show you some of the stuff that's popped up since the last week, and maybe harvest a few things. Try to get them before some of these other critters do. I guess to start, we don't even really have to go too far, because right here we've got all of the corn, and the corn's been doing really well. You can see we got some silk right here of the corn, and they're starting to produce the actual corn on the cobs here. So that's nice to see, because this is really the first year that I'm starting corn at an appropriate time and trying to grow some corn so that I have a few to grow throughout the summer here. You can see we got some silk there, we got some there, and some there. You can see all that, and then we have kind of sneakily hidden under here a few cucumbers. We got about 3 of them, and you know, this Gershwin, that one right there, I think has been in there for a couple of weeks now, and I'm going to try to harvest a few more things in this video than I normally do, so we're going to come back to that in just a second. But let's take a look over here, because you can see that the trellising is really working out well for this particular cucumber. And this is a Corinto, and you can see we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of like a tree of cucumbers here. And hope we got a, did I count this one? I'm not sure. But you can see we got quite a few cucumbers on this particular plant. And earlier I was walking over here thinking that these were 2 different plants, but really we have another plant right here which may or may not be a cucumber. I don't think it is, and you know, I'm seeing a lot of this in the garden. We have a green tomato that's already been kind of chomped into here, and they do say that birds tend to try to get water out of some of the fruits. So I don't know if this is a big enough hole for it to be a bird. Oh, look at that. So I didn't know this was here. And that's one of the tough things about, you know, if you do not trellis up or do not tie up a lot of the vines for your plants, you may get a lot of hidden fruits on the ground. And this one here, yeah, it's still attached. I thought for a second it might not be. And then right here we have we got a honeydew. So it's a honeydew melon, because I can see my tag all the way in there. And you know, this time of year I do forget. Looks like we got a piece of trash that flew off the patio. Definitely don't want that out here in the garden. But I was about to say, this time of year, you know, I start to forget where exactly all the different plants are and what they are. And so it's good to have those tags to help you remember what you planted. Got quite the cucumber plant growing here. So what I'm gonna do now is cut a few of these off, because these are, for me, probably about the perfect size, or even maybe a little bit overripe. They could have been harvested even a few days ago, even a week ago. And the more often you harvest, the more fruits usually the plant will produce. And so I'm gonna just go ahead and cut this off. And I've got a tray down here to put them into. And this is a nice one as well. And I'm gonna really help this plant, because there's a lot of weight on this plant right now. Each one of these, you know, weighs a pound or 2. And why don't we go ahead and pull this other big one off, and I'll leave that one up top for it, and then I'll come over here and take a look at this one. And I'm gonna go ahead and snip this guy. And so now let's go ahead and bring our tray of cucumbers all the way over here. And we had some Gershwins. You can see the sign right here, Gershwin. And these ones are, this one right here I think has been on here for a while. Just gonna let it drop just like that. Go ahead and toss that in the tray. And I think we'll take the next one because it's a nice solid green color. And to me that's perfect. And just take a look at the difference here. This one was probably sitting on there a little bit longer. I think it got a little bit lighter, and typically what happens if you leave them on too long is they get kind of starchy, and you can still eat them, but sometimes that means they're going to be a bit bitter or just undesirable to eat. And so when you have some real nice cucumbers that look like this, nice dark green, and then you have some lighter ones that look like this, not as good. And let's take a look at another thing that can happen. So this is, you know, something I'm just seeing now, and obviously that cucumber started to have a bit of rot there, and part of that is because it was just laying on the ground, and you know, I couldn't see it. It was hidden behind the leaves, and I'm not coming out here and digging under all of my leaves every day. I'm really focused on the ones that are above ground, that are visible, and you know, so to me this is going to be something that goes in the compost. So you know, we're going to walk over here and put it right in there. And I'm not worried about that because I've got so many different cucumbers growing in the garden here that I really don't have to worry too much. Now why don't we walk over here and harvest some tomatoes. And so this tray is actually already a little difficult to to carry around because of the weight. So I'm gonna go grab a container for my tomatoes and I'll be right back. So I just grabbed a couple things that I like to use when I'm harvesting tomatoes, and one of those is actually a basket which is sold as a, you know, like a waste basket for an office. I think I got this on something like Target or Walmart, and they're maybe $2 each. And these are really good because you have holes in it and you can kind of wash them off with a hose before you bring them inside. And it holds a good volume here, and it's got some structural integrity to it, so kind of a good choice. And then I just got these baskets off Amazon delivered yesterday, and they weren't very expensive, but what I'm noticing as I took them out of the package is they're already kind of broken. So I don't know what good this is. I ideally wanted something that had some structural integrity to it and kind of resembles, you know, like the supermarket container, but I wanted to be able to reuse it, and I didn't want to have them be throwaways. And so what I fear is that these may end up becoming throwaways because they just don't seem like they're gonna hold that much weight to it. So that's kind of disappointing, but you know, it happens. So let's go ahead and take a look at the tomatoes here, and let's start with one of the ones that I'm the most excited for this year, which is the apple yellow. And this one's been on the vine here for ripening for about a week, and it's probably been something I should have picked a few days ago, but let's take a look at it. So it's not perfect, but it's got a nice color to it. It's got a nice shape. It has kind of that apple look to it, shape to it, and it's got a little bit of a blemish here, but in my opinion this thing is perfect to eat. So we're gonna go ahead and just put that in the basket, and we got a second one here that's definitely ready to harvest because it's ripe enough. And you know, this one looks maybe a little bit better, and I'm very tempted to eat these right now, but I will give them a wash before I eat them. These do tend to be a little bit more beefy, so you get some good kind of tomato meat to it, if you will. And then over here is the other apple yellow plant, and we can go ahead and pull one of these off just to compare. And one more point here is that this one might look a little bit underripe, but I am just gonna, you know, remove it. And it didn't take a lot of effort. That's a sign that it is ready to harvest if it kind of comes off pretty easy. And this one's got a little bit of green to it still, but you can put any tomatoes by the window and they will get darker and riper, you know, after a certain point. So, you know, if these are popping off the vine like that, they're definitely good to just put by the window and then eat them. Now this one right here, you can see is still on the vine. And what happened with this one is it cracked. And that crack can happen if they get too much water. And that's definitely the case with these tomatoes, because that brings me to an update that I did for this week, which is I extended the time of the watering for my plants, and then I think I added a second schedule to it. So basically these plants got double the water as of 3 to 4 days ago. And what happens with tomatoes is when they're already pretty close to being ripe like this, if they start getting a little bit too much water, the plant absorbs the water, it goes into the tomato, and then it kind of bursts out here. So you can kind of see, but it's a nice juicy looking tomato. And I tend not to eat the ones that crack open like this unless that happens when I harvest it. The reason is because when they're open like this, there's a higher chance that you know, bacteria or anything can kind of start growing within that. So this will be something that I just toss over to the harvest or the compost bin. Oh, and I just barely missed and it hit a lettuce, but that's okay. Feeling a little bit more of a breeze coming in here. We might start to get a little bit of rain, but we'll try to keep the tour going here. The only other tomatoes that look ripe, there's maybe one more apple yellow. Let's take this one off. And you know, I went to do this and it's not really coming off, and for me that's a sign that I'm going to leave it because I don't put a lot of pressure when I try to harvest my tomatoes. And as I walk down here, you can see we've got, you know, some good looking tomatoes here, but these mortgage lifters, they're not ready to harvest yet. These Romas, they're not ready to harvest yet, and to be honest, I'm a little disappointed in how these are looking and how these are growing. It does look like something came in here and ate the tops of these. Oh boy. I definitely had some deer come in here the other day, although I did not see it happening. I know that it does happen a little bit too frequently, and even though there's a fence right here, they kind of walk in from there in the path and they just kind of help themselves. So this time of year I would expect to see a little bit more tomatoes to harvest, but obviously something's going on there. And I thought I would just walk back here, show you my wall with my patio, and yep, so that's what the chipmunks do. They'll come over here and they'll pretty much just eat all the juicy parts, and they'll leave the skin. And they don't even clean up after themselves. So we've got a nice apple yellow right there, and then a red tomato. I will point out that I did have a couple additional tomatoes here that I harvested yesterday, and I left them outside, and they're kind of ripening up outside, and they're in a spot where the chipmunks currently cannot get them. Let's go ahead and put these in here. I think that's a Gardener's Delight, and then this one I'm thinking might be an Early Girl, and it actually fell off the vine. So I'm not sure if it fell off because that's what the plant does, or if the plant just wasn't really strong enough to hold on to it. Either way, some changes with the watering can cause you know, differences in how the tomatoes are a little bit later in the season. So now let's take our basket and our scissors and walk around over to the peppers. And this is something that I've talked about for a couple weeks, and I'm going to finally do it. So you can see that this pepper plant right here is looking a little bit small compared to some of the other peppers in the row here, and I really think that it just does not need to be holding on to this one pepper because it's putting so much effort into it. There we go. So this is a, I think it's called Sweet Sunrise, but either way, this might be turning into like a purple pepper. And you know, this pepper itself looks pretty good, and it has a little bit of that bell pepper smell to it, and it's not going to be like a very hot pepper, but it's a nice pepper nonetheless. And we're going to go ahead and just put it in our basket and hope that this plant decides to grow a little bit more. And you can see this one got a little bit of leaf, maybe sun scald, basically sunburn for a plant, would be my guess. And then either it kind of deteriorated or something else ate it. But right there, this one is called the YOLO Red. It's a YOLO Red bell pepper, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut that one too, because just look at how big this pepper is, and then look at how big the plant is. The pepper, you know, it took a lot of energy to make this pepper, and I kind of just want to let the plant focus on growth so we can get some increased production. Now let's come down here and take a look at the, this is called the Big Yellow. And I know I've got a few of these big yellows, so we're gonna go ahead and cut that one. And let's go ahead and put that in the basket. And what else do we got down here? Looks like we've got These might be the Fresnos. We're gonna leave those because those are hot peppers, and the peppers don't get that big, and the plant seems like it's doing okay. We got the same thing kind of going on right here. I'm gonna let those stay. Over here, looks like we got some pepperoncinis, and these aren't usually super hot, but these are very, we'll say, prolific. They tend to produce a lot of peppers. So we're gonna cut that one off. I'm gonna take that one with us. And these ones you'll see pickled on Greek salads all the time. That's kind of what they're there for. And here we got the Hungarian wax, and this one's a nice tall hot pepper. We're just gonna cut that right off. Look at this one, looks pretty good too. Boom. So a couple of Hungarian hot wax peppers, and let's bring those back and put them in our basket here. And it's important not to put too much weight on some of those tomatoes that might be subject to cracking, because you don't want them to burst open, you know, while you're harvesting. But it's okay if it happens. And then coming down here, I think I saw one more pepper. Yes, the Hello Fuego, nice little jalapeno-like pepper. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut that. And this is one of my least favorite weeds. This one's called Shaggy Soldier, and just gonna go ahead and remove that. And look at that, another hollowed out tomato. So definitely the animals have been coming around and taking advantage of the garden, and it's okay to some extent, but not a huge fan. So those are all the peppers that I wanted to harvest over here. We actually have some really nice peppers over here on this side of the garden. And look at these. This one's already got a couple on there. This one's got a nice, healthy looking one. And I might leave that one back there. That's a nice looking pepper, because I think that one might ripen a lot quicker than these ones, and I'd like to see a little bit of color. So we're gonna go ahead and harvest this one. This is a nice pepper. I call this the big yellow, and they're definitely doing really well. It's got a strange little knob kind of at the end there, but let's go ahead and put that into the basket. And the basket's starting to look nice here. And let's go ahead and take one of these off. I'm hearing a little bit of thunder open up here, and you know, if it gets a little too rainy, I might have to end the video short, but let's hope not. What else? We're gonna leave these peppers here. Gonna let these grow out a little bit more. It's nice to see them on the plants, growing, doing well. And take a look down here. The zinnias, the red zinnias, doing the best. I actually think that one is called the scarlet one. The red one's supposed to be right here, and it's another plant that you can see got a little bit of damage from the deer, I think, or maybe a rabbit, but kind of high up for a rabbit to get to. I don't know. You guys think a rabbit could get about a foot up in the air and eat that? Let me know. Be interested to hear what everyone thinks about that. There's not too much else to harvest around here. We got the Sugar Baby watermelon growing, doing its thing, and let's take a look. Look at that. This is the first decent watermelon that I'm seeing so far. It's a nice looking one. It's a little misshaped, but you know, I didn't do the best job with planting my watermelons consistently this year, so that's a thing. But it's good to see that watermelon coming in. And then I don't know if we're going to be able to fit any of these zucchini into the basket, but we're going to walk down this way anyways. And so this is really my first year growing zucchini, and they've done really well, but you can see this plant just seems like it's starting to die off. Now, I don't know if something is going on here, but I don't know why that's dying. And maybe it's just the plant produces a bunch and then does that. I don't know. Maybe someone could tell me. I'm new to zucchini, but we're gonna stick our we're gonna go ahead and put the scissors in here and give that a nice cut. And you can see this zucchini looks pretty nice. Nice good weight to it, and it's gonna crush. It's gonna go ahead and crush the peppers if I put them in there. Now take a look. That's a King Arthur pepper. Right next to it, we got a bumblebee working his magic on that volunteer tomato that's right there. And this stretch is actually not so bad. Got several peppers that have done a decent job just kind of growing in there. And thankfully the deer did not destroy that section. And then over here, lots of pollinators. They love these mint flowers, and it's yeah, it's nice to see all these bees over here. It's like, I don't know if that's a moth or some kind of butterfly, kind of similar. We got a lot of these, I think they're digger wasps. I think they dig holes, and I think that might be the great black wasp. Might be his name, but that could also just be a larger digger wasp. I think I've got some voles coming through here and actually trying to dig out the potatoes. Not happy about that. Over here, this is, so we have 2 zucchinis, and wow, look at that one. Maybe we should come back to that. But over here, this is, I think, maybe a butternut squash. I kind of forget. Oh no, this is an acorn squash. And not seeing any huge fruits on it, but it's kind of growing into, you know, an open space, so it's good that I don't have to do too much work there. Over here, I was just pointing out that this one looks like it's really growing out some big zucchini here. So this one looks a little bit like a bottle. That's kind of cool to see. It's not a bottle gourd. I have grown bottle gourds in the past, but let's go ahead and cut the bottle shaped one. So that looks like it's going to be a little easier to get at. And again, when you're filming, it's a little bit tricky. Okay. So, nice zucchini right there, and it does look like it's actually rotting a little bit up top here. I'm not sure, but I think something maybe crawled in there. So I might cut the top of the bottle off here, and then otherwise keep the rest of it. But let's see, we got a new one growing right here. Okay guys, so the good news here is I just had an Amazon delivery, just literally as I was filming that. And one thing I ordered the other day was a harvest basket, and this one I think was maybe $20–30. It's a bit cheaper than the big garden stores, but it seems like it's a good size here, and we'll see how it lasts. So you can kind of pick it up, and it's got some good, again, good volume to it. So we're gonna say that it's an upgrade from the $2 basket, and now we can fit this zucchini that we just harvested. Actually fits in there, so that's pretty cool. And now we can go ahead and move all of our peppers in here, and put the peppers on the bottom, hot pepper, and then put some of our tomatoes in there. And that's nice to look at, huh? It's got some good color to it, and it's got a little bit of room to harvest a few more things. I've got another zucchini here, and so that's 3, which I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to eat all of these zucchinis before the shelf life expires. So I'll definitely be taking the best, maybe trying to give away a couple if I can, but you know, a lot of people around here like to garden, so not everybody needs an extra zucchini. They might have the same situation, to be honest. Cool, so now the basket weighs quite a bit. And what was I going to show? Oh, over here you can see, so this acorn squash does have a nice acorn squash going right there, and those acorn squash should actually have a really nice shelf life to them. So the basket's looking really good here. Let's see, the other thing that I was thinking about harvesting, but it is starting to rain. The rain might pick up pretty good in just a minute here. The other thing I was thinking about harvesting was some potatoes, but unfortunately I might have to end here with the basket. So why don't we go up? So let's grab our cucumbers from earlier. So I have a few more tomatoes that I harvested the other day, just a couple days ago. Kept them out of sight of the chipmunks. And a random potato that I harvested as well.
Alright guys, well it just started to rain and thunder, so I'm going to have to wrap up the video here. But here's the garden harvest. We have a lot of zucchini, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, and everything looks really good. So I'm going to enjoy eating this as much as I enjoyed harvesting it. And if you like the video, please tap the like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a good one.